Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Jersey Shore podcast. That's SURE because we are always sure. I'm your host, Damon Galdo, and brought to you by the Great America's Pulse Network. So we have some great guests today, and we'll go into the breaking news first. I'm just going to let you guys read it underneath. Go look at the ticker tape underneath there, and while I go through the monologues, I want to bring these guests on because they're pretty important guests, and I think we have a lot of good things to talk about. So let's go on to the monologue, and I'm just going to talk about everything we're going to talk about today. And there's quite a lot with the young Republicans, and I'll tell you why, because they're the future. So tonight on Jersey Shore, we're diving straight into the future of the Republican Party, and I'm not talking about the consultants, the lifers, the career politicians, or the same old establishment voices that got us into this mess. And you can see all the old people that got into this mess, the lifelong politicians. I'm tired of it. We need new blood, and that's what we're going to bring on tonight. I'm talking about the young Republicans, the fighters, the builders, the generation that grew up watching the country fall apart under Democrat leadership and said, no, we're not doing this anymore. Because let's be honest, if there's one group the Democrats absolutely fear, it's young conservatives who actually know what they're talking about. And you can see that. I mean, you can see that young conservatives were feared. I mean, and look at what happened to Charlie Kirk. That just shows you right there. I mean, we don't know everything about that, what happened, but every college campus he went to talk to young people and talk to college students, he was either loved for it or hated for it. He was loved by the Republicans and the conservatives, but he was hated by the Democrats because he was making a dent. But the thing is, they can't shame them. They can't bribe them with empty slogans and TikTok dances. Young Republicans are informed, they're motivated, they're angry for the right reasons, and ready to take their state and their country back. And that brings me to, let's say, the magic Democrat buzzword of 2025, affordability. They keep saying it like they discovered the concept yesterday, but they're the ones that caused it. So, the housing unaffordable, groceries unaffordable, car insurance, forget it, energy way up, rent way up, living is basically a luxury item right now. For these young people that are coming out of college or even coming out of high school. So Democrats, they're the ones that they'll break your legs, hand you crutches, they overtax you for, and then call themselves heroes. And young people, especially young Republicans, are waking up to it. They're feeling it harder than anyone else. They don't have the luxury of nostalgia or the pre-Biden era. They live the affordability crisis, and they know exactly who caused it. Tonight, we're going to talk about how young Republicans can organize, mobilize, energize their base. This generation can flip counties, flip districts, flip states. And if we give them the real path and real vision, then they can flip the country. Grassroots activism, social media strategies, boots on the ground turnout, all that matters more than ever. You see what happened in New Jersey, Virginia, New York, with the last election. So we need young Republicans are the key. And yes, we're also getting into the big one, Trump and the Epstein files. Did he play 4D chess? So stay tuned for that. That's going to be the last segment. Did he bait the Democrats into demanding the release of the files they knew were political dynamite? But so I'm just going to say, we have a surprise guest along with tonight's main guest, who is a member of the Young Republicans. And he's going to break down how exactly what the youth movement is saying, what they're feeling, and how they're organizing for 2026 and 2028. Because the future of the GOP isn't coming someday, it's here right now. So this is the Jersey Shore, and tonight, the next generation takes the mic. So let's introduce our guest. Right now we have Joe Sereday from the Burns County Young Republican. Bring him on. And then we also have Jason Cullen, who is running for Congress in CD1. I'm sorry. These three. I apologize. So I had that on top of my mind. But thank you guys for coming on. I just want to just go. Let's dive deep into this. I mean, it's a real important thing, a message that we got to get out there. And I think the young Republicans are the ones that do it. So the first hammer segment is the future of the party. Young Republicans step up. So Joe, what do you think? Like, what are you guys doing? What are you planning? I know you're planning to come onto this network, and I know you guys are out there. You're active, and you're trying to recruit people. I know we have the Turning Point USA chapters that are starting around, in South Jersey. So, what do you guys have going on?
Pretty much just doing exactly that, Damon. Just getting us prepared to, hold higher positions of power. You know what I mean? We pretty much exist for the purpose of people of my age bracket, Gen Z, millennials, anyone under the age of 40 to get out there, get involved, get informed, and, spread the word, really. You kind of hit it perfectly about how sort of desperate things are for our generation. You know what I mean? Some of us are not guaranteed to see a light at the end of the tunnel, if you will. So a lot of it comes down to economic things, the economy, housing, Gen Z, it's pretty tough right now to envision and have the American dream for people in my age bracket. I don't know if you guys seen, but they just did an analytic data thing, like a statistic recently, where the median age to buy a home now has just turned 59 years old. And it's just, yeah, it's terrible. It's absurd. So as, I'm 23 years old, as people my age bracket are just kind of getting their start in the world, just kind of figuring out what they want to do. Perhaps they're, thinking about settling down. We have to fight, we have to work incredibly hard. So what I propose, what I always recommend to people, and I say it all the time, and it is perhaps a little bit corny, but we are indeed fighting for our future. And, perhaps it's tough. It kind of, maybe is a little bit unfortunate that we have to do things the way we do things in this sense. But we are incredibly motivated. You know what I mean? We are incredibly motivated. We want to get out there and, at the end of the day, like I said, it's really just us fighting for our own futures, for economic stability, to prosper, to have a decent moral society. And so, I mean, if you're a young Republican out there, if you're listening to this, I highly recommend you get involved. I'm Burlington County, but we have chapters all over the state, all over the country, really. So, and Turning Point has been incredibly popular recently. Lots of people have been, quite frankly, radicalized and even more involved with the tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk. Turning Point action chapters have been opening up everywhere, and it's just terrific to see. We got to get the word out. So.
All right, Joe. Yeah, great. I will say this because I'll beat it in the ground if I have to. One of my favorite quotes is by Edmund Burke. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. So when you step up and do something, you need to make your voice heard. And you guys are the future. I mean, that we're relying on you. You said you have to be 42 or younger. I'm 44. So
you just missed it, man.
yeah. So I'm out.
40. It's 40. So it's a little.
40.
Yeah.
All right, I'm 44. I'm out. But Jason, you're in Burlington County too, and you're running for Congress in CDC, and you're stepping up. And these young guys, are stepping up. How important do you think it is to have these young guys that stepping up to the plate, and because they're suffering more than anything. I bought my first house when I was 19. I was able to do that. But now, I mean, I'll be honest, I'm struggling right now because mortgage rates are high because I moved to New Jersey. But it was different then. These guys I feel bad for them.
Absolutely. And I would say they're the most important factor in this race and in the future of the country, because they are the future of the country. They are the future leaders of this country. And I can't coin this phrase, but they're the first generation that's being told you will not be as well off as your parents. That is not fair. They are facing the consequences of bad decisions that somebody else made. And the fact that you guys are, you're motivated still with all that against you, and you're ready to fight. And you do have folks like myself and Damon who again, we just missed the cut, but we want to get in there, and we do want to help you out as well, because our children are part of that young next generation as well. So we want to make sure that they're going to have those same opportunities that we had. And if we don't give your generation, the young Republicans, and just the young people in general across this country, we don't give them opportunity, we don't give them hope, you're going to start to see Mandanis elected across the entire country. Because if we're leaving you guys off on the curb somewhere, the other side's going to pick you up. If we're not giving you hope, we're not giving you opportunity, they're going to give you a bunch of free shits. Can I curse on here?
Yeah, you curse. Yeah, you're good.
The offer for all that free stuff is going to sound really damn appealing to the next generation, because if the Republicans aren't there to help lift you guys up and give you that opportunity, we have nobody to blame but ourselves for you guys turning that way. So I know that's an important thing for me. And, one of the biggest roadblocks that you guys have is college, right?
Yeah.
The first step you have towards the American dream puts you 6 figures into the negative before you even get started. How is that fair to you? And that's between what the universities are doing. They're really screwing you guys, putting you in debt for decades. And a lot of it is because of Congress. The reason education is as expensive as it is, between getting involved with the student loans. Once they became guaranteed, the university said, all right, cool. These loans are guaranteed. We can charge whatever the hell we want. We're gonna get paid for it. And there's some ideas that I'm kicking around for you guys to help you guys out if I can get elected to Congress. And I think they're really taking advantage of you guys. They make you waste 2 years worth of electives and 2 years worth of additional debt on classes that have nothing to do with your major. You guys can be off to such a better start, and there's very simple things that we can do in Washington to help you guys. But we got to make sure that we're electing the right people to do that. And some of you guys are those right people as well. And the fact that you're taking ownership of your future is the first step, and it's fantastic. And like anything I could do to help you guys out, I'm all ears. You got my number. You call me whenever.
Hey, sorry guys, got breaking news. Got a special message coming in. Watch here.
I love these young Republicans. They're the future of this country. They need to do more politicking than boozing, because a hangover is never good, never good. We have Jason Cullen and Damon Galdo running for Congress again, and they're tremendous, but they have to get these young boys in shape.
Figured I'd throw
Mr.
a little AI
Mr. President.
a little AI Trump in there.
Oh, that was AI?
Yeah. No. Well, no, maybe it was a real Trump. I don't know.
That was awesome.
It's hard to tell anymore.
But yeah, I mean, and Jason, you're right about that. Actually, it threw me off because I lost my train of thought. I had a good question I was going to bring up, but Joe, I mean, how many people were part of your Republican club in Burlington County?
Well, we're growing every day, Damon. You know what I mean? The number's always changing. We're just starting. We're at about like 25 to 30 some members, and that's likely to grow even more as time goes on. Like I mentioned earlier, our membership even grew larger. We got much more engagement on social media ever since the tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk. But I just want to say, Jason, I greatly appreciate your focus for the issues that plague us today and the young generation. And college is a big one. You know what I mean? Many of us are in debt. Me, I'm not, thank God, but many of us are in debt. And it's just a terrible thing. It's affordability is the pretty much key issue that plagues this generation. And, if the Republican Party and other leadership, maybe they need to expedite that a little bit further. I think more things need to be done, because exactly like you said, I think one of the reasons why people like Mamdani win is because whatever they say is a little bit more appealing, and whatever's not being proposed on the conservative side of things, on the Republican side, then the radical left is going to get that. My generation actually votes a little bit selfishly in that regard. Whatever pretty much sounds good, whoever has our interest, our focus in mind. And so far what you're saying is pretty much right on the nail head right there. So, it's really refreshing to hear, actually, I must say. So,
I appreciate that. That's how I feel. Because again, like the main reason I'm even doing this
yeah,
is for my children. I want to take ownership of their future. They're the next generation. I want to make sure my kids have the same opportunities I have. I don't want them struggling. I can't imagine, when they're older, to be watching them struggling, that I have to, maybe they have to stay in the house longer. They can't get their own home. I mean, look at what it is right now. They're 12 and 15. How much worse might it possibly get, right?
Yeah, you just want them out of the house. Come on, be honest.
No, I told them they could
As
stay.
soon as possible. No, I'm kidding.
out of mommy and daddy's basement, right?
Absolutely.
No, I understand. No, I agree with you. It's the same reason why I'm doing it as well.
It's really it's the ruling class and this elite in this country that's very hostile to us. You know what I mean? It's like the World Economic Forum. One of their things that constantly gets repeated. You will own nothing and you'll be happy. They want a generation of renters.
Yes.
They want to fight against true and full ownership. And we need people all across the board from everywhere to fight perhaps a little bit harder for that, because between corporations and even foreign countries, this talk of them buying up single family homes and land, it's very concerning. And we need perhaps maybe a little bit more focus on that. So I must say it's definitely refreshing to hear, and I thank you again, seriously. Yeah.
My pleasure. And I'm here to help. I mean, that's why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, listen, there's more stuff that we're going to talk about. It's going to segue into it. So we'll take our first break and we'll go into the next Hammer segment after this break real quick.
The APN's The Pulse podcast is hosted by Alexandra Levine from the Alexandra Levine Life podcast. And Damon Galdo from the Jersey Shore podcast. And Seth Eisenberg from the Conservative Corner podcast. Also, there will be 2 additional guests on every episode. The Pulse is live every Wednesday at 8 p.m.
All right, guys, welcome back to Hammer segment number 2, and that's affordability, the Democrats' new lie, and that's what it is. They always choose a new word to go with when the other one fails. Now it's affordability. And before I get started on this one, I just want to let everyone know you can go in the chat. If you guys want to ask a question, we can see it, we'll read it, we'll answer it. So I know YouTube's been having issues with that if you're on the YouTube, but if you go on APN's X or my X, whatever it may be, that seems like the easiest one to ask a question or put a statement out there, and we'll be able to see it live. And you guys, if you look at the bottom right, tap the chat button, and the column will come up, and you'll see if anybody asks a question. Ask a question. So anyway, when you talk about Mamdani, like that guy is promising everybody the world. And it's not feasible, and we know that. And Joe, I don't know if you ever saw, Jason, I know I never sent it to you, but I may have sent it to you. The article I wrote about the college, like basically pyramid scam, and how it started with when you brought it up, Jason, when you brought up how much. Once they secure those loans and the government says, hey, we're going to do it. This goes back to Lyndon B. Johnson when he started it. And I wrote an article how every Democrat from there with Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and how they basically removed it from the banks. So, a bank would actually look at their risk of loaning you money to go to college. So if you're going to college for underwater basket weaving, as my buddy Pete always says, they'll give you a loan. So basically what they're doing is they'll reach into your pocket and say, we're going to take your money and we're going to give it to somebody to go to college for something that they're never going to make money off of. And they put them in debt, and that's what it is. And we basically guarantee, the loan to be paid off because they're using our money. And that's where it gets out of, get so overinflated. And if you look at from when they switched to that, and that was government funded loans, it tripled past inflation. So the colleges took advantage of it. Why wouldn't they? anything government subsidized, they're like, oh wow, we're gonna up it, up it, up it. I don't blame them for doing it, honestly. I mean, it was like a money pot that they could just dip into, but it's ours. It's our pockets. Yeah. And then, so I'll have to send you guys an article because there's a lot more. But that's basically what it is. So Joe, I mean, I don't. You don't have to say. I know you went to college. You don't have to say what your debt is, but I'm sure it's up there. But how do you feel about that? How do you feel? When you have to start repaying your loans and you have to buy a house, I'm like, what's the ratio of what you think you can afford? Like how long do you got to live with mom and dad, whatever,
Well, I will say it is tough for, a lot of people. Thank goodness I never actually went to college. So I'm not
I think you did. I'm sorry. I thought that you were in college with Patrick. I apologize.
No, you're good. You're good. Only because I never found really the need for it. You know what I mean? I went more into the sort of straight to work, sort of blue collar-esque thing, which is, pretty much one of the ways to go to avoid this giant problem. But I will say, it is very tough for a lot of people, my peers that I talk to, as they're just starting to get sort of their first steps ahead in life, they are burdened by a debt that they can't pay off until years and years ahead. And it's just very unfortunate, and I think it almost seems like it is by design that you are always having to pay some sort of debt, some sort of mortgage. It's really unfortunate. And I think maybe I'm a little bit harsher with this take, but I think the big colleges, I really think, you mentioned Lyndon B. Johnson, to mention another older president, Teddy Roosevelt. He was a big monopoly buster. And I think some of these big colleges, I think some of them, maybe, to sort of quote the president a little bit, if we don't get H-1B visas into these colleges, then they're going to close down. I don't really see the downfall in that, to be quite honest. I don't see the downside in that because I think, these big colleges, I think it's a monopoly that needs to be busted, quite frankly. When you have people going to, and I will admit too, it is kind of our fault, right? We kind of fall into this. People, older people always like to say, oh, you're going to school for liberal arts. And it's kind of true because some people, as we're getting our steps ahead in life, some of us don't know exactly, or something changes. And, nonetheless, we still have to pay it off anyway, with any different career paths that we go to. And, I must say it is very tough. There are some people who have it way worse than others. But that's my take. That's my 2 cents on the matter personally. So I'm curious on what Jason kind of has to say on that.
Yeah, I thought you went to college for a couple of years with Patrick.
No, I did not.
He's going further and further down the rabbit hole when colleges wrote a letter of acceptance for
Patrick does have if he's watching tonight. Hello, Patrick. But I must say he has a pretty solid plan, and I think with what he does, it'll get him there, and maybe he won't be as bad in that gutter, so to speak. But for many people, some people, they just have a loose plan and they just kind of go with it and roll with it, and then you're stuck in student loans, college debt that you have to be stuck to pay off. So it's very unfortunate,
And Jason, but to go back to you, what I wrote in that one article, it was like a Ponzi scheme. It was a socialist Ponzi scheme to get students to go to college because they knew that they could get as much money as they wanted from loans from the government, and then they raise the rates, triple the amount of inflation is what it is, and then if you look at it, they turn around, they got the kids hooked. They have to pay the debt back, and then the teachers unions, who do they support? Democrats. And then 97% of their PAC money goes to Democrats, and then they get Democrats elected. And then you turn around, you look at these presidents, like Obama, you get like I forget what it was, like $300,000 per speech when he's not the president anymore at these same colleges. So it's like a vicious cycle, like of like siphoning money from people. Like, that's what I see from it.
Absolutely. And I think back to when I've heard Charlie Kirk say, college is a scam.
Yeah.
And what I think he meant by that is, to your point, it's not for everyone. There was this big lie that for you to get ahead, you have to go to college. If you don't get a 4-year degree, you're never going to have the American dream. And that was a big lie. It is not for everyone. Joe, you made the best decision for yourself. Yeah. And that's what you're supposed to do, right? Some people, it's trade school. Some people, it's going right into business. Some people, it's maybe starting a landscaping business right out of high school. You're going to do what's best for you. You don't have to believe, I need to put myself in $300,000 worth of debt. And now I'm managing a Taco Bell because I had a worthless degree that I was lied to, that I told that I needed. And I have friends like that, unfortunately, in that situation where they could have done so many other things, but they felt they needed to go to college. And they had that degree that it wasn't going to get them a return on their investment with school. Which is another issue too, where I don't understand why all degrees cost the same. Like a teaching degree should not cost the same as an engineering degree, right? If you're only going to be able to make this much money, they should only be able to charge this much money. And when you said, Joe, I actually agree with you about the foreign students coming in and Trump saying, well, these colleges couldn't survive without the influx of students. Well, that's the free market, right? If there's not enough kids to go to that school, then maybe that school doesn't need to be there. Okay. And if he's going to be a free market president, I'm a free market guy, you guys are free market guys, we're going to let the market decide, right? The colleges that are doing the right things, that they're not ripping you guys off, they're offering degrees of value, they're the ones that'll survive. There's no reason to just basically you guys become indentured servants, right? I mean, debt is slavery. It's slavery. And you mentioned earlier that famous line, you're gonna own nothing and you're gonna like it. And that's the first step, because some of this debt is so insurmountable. And with the degrees that they're getting in schools, they're walking out of there with $40,000, $50,000 a year jobs. They're never going to pay off the loan, which means they're never going to get the home. The American dream is not obtainable for them at that point, all because they were lied to.
Yeah. I mean, it happened to my wife. She went to college after we got married, and she wanted to go for paralegal studies, and she got her degree. We went and we talked to a college counselor, and I said, yeah, you're going to make this amount of money when you get your degree. No, not even close. She went for 5.5 years because she had to go at night because we had kids at the time, and she worked at the time too. But she put a lot of effort into it, and she got her degree. And when she went for her first job and second job, third job, applying to all these places, they wanted to pay her like $12 an hour, and it didn't even cover daycare. So then I could put the blame on us too, because we believed that, college counselor, they sold us on it. And I talked to a lawyer friend of mine when I was trying to get her. He said, listen, I don't know that anybody that really gets a degree in paralegal studies. Usually they start out as a legal secretary and they work their way up and they learn it. You don't need a college degree to do that. He's like, they basically bullshit you. Wow. And yeah, so we got $40,000 to pay off, on that one. But it's like everything's a scam nowadays. And the thing is, you need people like you, Jason, that stepping up to run for office. Joe, that part of the young Republicans that will probably run for office, I would say one day. I'm sure that's in your future. Or but because there's scams out there, and I'm gonna say this again. I think I talked about it on the last podcast, but like my HOA, they keep raising the rates, and nobody pays attention. Like everyone's like, oh, they complain about it, but they don't do anything about it. So they just raised it up to $285 a month. We don't have a clubhouse or a pool or any. They cut the grass and handle exterior. That's it. And they said their reasoning for it was a new law that Governor Murphy signed in January and went into effect in August, saying, "Oh, we have to raise it because of the law." So they, being in construction, and being a pain in the ass and not just taking anything for an answer. Oh, okay, I'm not laying down. I want to know why you're charging me more money. I looked it up, and it doesn't even cover our development because we're stick frame wood houses. It covers concrete, steel houses with underground garages. I mean, I dove deep into it, and then I contacted them. I'm at war with them right now, and they won't respond at this point. I had to contact the county clerk's office, get the master deed when this was originally built in 2006. This development, get that, put the numbers together, see what they're charging, request all the maintenance fees and all the contracts that they have here, and we're overfunded in our reserves. We're at $2 point some million now. We have $1.2 million more than the state law requires to have an HOA. HOA sucked to begin with, so everybody out there is listening. Don't buy a house with an HOA. I just happened to do it because my in-laws moved here. My father-in-law was sick. My wife wanted to move closer. That's how we got roped into it. But if you do your due diligence and you look into it, don't just take anybody's word for it and say, hey, listen, we have to charge you this much. Okay, why? Ask questions.
Yes.
And look into it, because a lot of people don't. They'll just take it. It happened to me and my wife. Well, my wife, when she went to college, and I'm like, no, I'm not. I want to know why you're raising them, and I just proved them completely wrong, 100% wrong. And then they lied to everybody. Said it's the law. They even sent it to me on social media, on Facebook, on our grand Facebook page. And the one guy said, read it. It's the law. We have to do it. I said, I did read it, and you're wrong. You're lying, and completely shut them down. So that's what we need, people like you guys, to step up. And I mean, everybody should pay attention to that stuff, whatever it may be. I think if we get complacent and we just think, oh, that's the way things are going, and that's what it is.
That's exactly what it is, Damon. Not to totally butt in, but a lot of people, they talk about federal, national issues, and granted, some of those things we cannot do anything about. However, there's lots going on, like in your HOA, like in my township, where property taxes have been raised by the school board from the failed school funding formula that is S2 that we have now from the legislator. Very poor, very poor. I just want to say that a lot of what we're talking about, more or less, it is on our hands. All politics is local. Local government is, believe it or not, a little bit more than trash collection and stuff like that. There is much more that goes into it. We have a say, we have a voice, and I think everyone, no matter where you lean or whatever it is, everybody should get involved in their local and state governments. You know what I mean? A lot of what is going on, like you said, it could be, at a township level. And all we have to do is just kind of all band together, all get organized and informed, and just pretty much just go out there and fight for it peacefully. You know what I mean? That's what it comes down to. It's just, we have to be well organized, informed, and, teach others about what's going on, about and a lot of times blatantly corrupt things that are just going on, and how we are being scammed. And, it's just, everybody needs, a great awakening, basically. Everybody should, get involved. It's what we're fighting for here. That's one of the reasons why all three of us are involved. It's, kind of what motivates me, is because we do, believe it or not, actually have a say. So.
Yeah, and I do wish more people got involved in lower politics, because the closer you are to the politicians, the easier it is to hold them accountable.
Yeah.
I mean, good luck getting some unelected bureaucrat in Washington, D.C. on the phone. But you know what? The town councilman is your neighbor, right? The mayor lives around the block. You're going to see these people at ShopRite. I wish people got more involved at the local level. People know typically what's going on nationally. A lot of people don't even know who their mayor is, right? So, Joe, do the young Republicans, do you guys get involved with local elections as well?
Yes, we do. We get involved in local elections. we don't really endorse. School board's supposed to be nonpartisan, right? So we don't really endorse, but we do pay attention to school board races. Right now our county commissioners, they're a total disgrace, quite frankly, all Democrats. We are, actively involved too and paying attention to some of the townships that are majority Democrat or even, quite frankly, Republicans doing the wrong thing.
It's a whole nother problem.
Yeah, more or less the same, but pretty much, a whole nother problem there a lot of the time. So
Okay,
yeah, we're county, so we kind of stay more focused on county stuff and local elections, local issues. But yeah, absolutely.
That's
well,
fantastic.
Daisy, before I go back to you, I have one clip that we cut. And it's Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas talking about affordability. I wanted to play it a little bit earlier when we got into our conversation, so I'm going to play it and then we'll go from there, and then I'll take it back to you.
Sure.
Hey everybody, you know who that is? It's Senator Elizabeth Warren. You campaigned for Mayor-elect Mamdani.
I did.
And while New York has its own issues and it has its own concerns, and New York doesn't necessarily vote the way the rest of the country votes, his message of affordability, his message of the rights and the dignity of working people, I think is a very powerful one that, it may open in New York, but like a Broadway show, it's going to play very well in the national tour. Some people say this is only for New York. I disagree. I think he's identified something that, yes, is in New York with its diverse population, but everyone in America sees something in this for them.
That's right. This
On
is
both sides of the aisle, by the way, the complaints are similar.
So I just wanted to play that clip because my major gripe is with media. A lot of people watch media, and they're talking about affordability, talking about Mamdani, and it's going to take over into work throughout the country. And that's the main reason why we do these podcasts and the radio show, because media can be more powerful than politics. Now, you had a politician, being interviewed by somebody in the media, and a lot of people watch that stuff and like, oh yeah, this will work, and it's just the lies that they spew and they put out there. And I don't know, how else do we get around it other than doing stuff like this and running for office ourselves, like regular people that are going to run for office, young Republican clubs. What more can we do? How do we push forward to get the message out there?
Right. Well, first of all, we need Republicans who can actually articulate that message and who can own that message. I mean, look what happened with our election in New Jersey. The Democrats have been in control of the legislature for a quarter of a century, and they still own the affordability debate.
No.
If they've been in charge for 25 years, it's their fault, right? You can't blame the other side. And then even on the national level, they're acting like the affordability crisis just started the day Trump got inaugurated, right? They ignore that for 4 years prior. Half of all currency in circulation was printed in 4 years. They spent us into oblivion. They've attacked domestic energy. They buried small businesses with regulations. Of course, this cost of living skyrocketed. It's due to every single one of their policies. If their policies worked, everyday Americans wouldn't be getting necessities with their credit cards. So we need a Republican Party that can actually communicate this message, and they need to start going the places they don't go right now. The Republican candidates are usually pretty good at going to where they already have the votes.
Yep.
They're not going to talk to the people that think differently than them. They don't try to go and talk to people who are on the other side of the aisle that you need to get buy-in from them. I'm looking at my district, right? It's a blue district. It's D+5. There's a lot of independents, right? And that's mostly in Burlington County, a little bit of Mercer County. I'm not going to spend my time all just in Monmouth County where they're going to vote for me because it's all red towns. I need to go into Burlington County. I need to hit every single one of those towns, and I need to hit the Democrat towns even harder. And I need to articulate what's happening on the ground, why it's happening. And you do need to strike an emotional chord. That's something the Democrats are very good at. They bring everything down to the emotional level, where that's how they win elections. And Democrats lose elections by getting into all this granular BS that people don't really want to hear about. They just want tangible results. What's going to feel good for me? What's going to fix my problems? So we need to become the party of affordability. We need to become the party of accountability, right? We have to prioritize affordability. We have to prioritize healthcare transparency, government spending discipline, and they have to speak plainly about these issues. We need Republicans who can just talk like human beings.
Yep, no,
These are the things that we need to do.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, that's exactly what I'm in like a D plus 10 in my district. So Norcross is an uphill battle. But you're right about that. But it's, what do you do? Joe, what do you do? Rent a plane, and have the little sign going behind and just circle around, say, hey, listen, this is what's going on. It's very hard to get people to pay attention to it. And the way politics are now, and that's why I'm looking at the young Republicans, because you guys are the future. You're the youth that are coming up, and we don't have to argue with you. You guys are learning from our mistakes, I would say. But people that are our age right now, they're kind of set in their ways. They watch what they watch and know what it is. And it's just so hard to have a dialogue with them because we're so divided right now. You want to have a conversation with a Democrat. And if I have a conversation with a Democrat or a liberal, whatever it may be, and they're willing to have a conversation with me, there's a lot of times I learn something from them, but they learn something from me. And I'm like, hold on a second. We share these issues. Like you're right on the same page as I am. Because I talk to guys at work that we're told to vote Democrat all the time because we're a union. But the rank and file men and women don't anymore. And the unions are starting to change. And look at the Teamsters Union, look at the Operating Engineers Union, they're starting to back Democrats with their PAC money. So it is moving. The needle is moving. But when I talk to guys that are willing to talk to me, I'm like, well, we agree. What are you talking about? Like, we're agreeing on everything that we're talking about. And I said, well, do you think men should play in women's sports? No. Do you believe, I mean, all those different issues. But the main problem is people are so set in their ways, they won't have the conversation. They'll shut down immediately. You have people that won't talk to family members or lose friends over this. So that's why I think you guys are very important, the youth. How do you think you get the youth out there? Because I don't know the numbers yet in the last election, how many people say 25 and under voted, but I will get them and look at it. But I'm curious, like, how do you get the youth motivated?
I looked at some of those numbers. I must say it's almost a lot what Jason said. You know what I mean? Speaking like a normal human being, and just talking about the issues in a maybe not, if it makes sense, in a partisan way, but just in a, this is what affects us, as you just said, Damon, a lot of the time you're speaking to people on the other side and they agree with maybe some of the issues we face, right? It's just pretty much about how to get there. So I think once you sort of break that barrier and kind of cut the divide, I think maybe then it gets better. And that's pretty much a big, long game to play. Some things that I would kind of suggest now, right? Going back on that human being level, I think it would be much better if, for people my generation, we're big into the phone, into the social media stuff, right? I think of, Trump's, even now, right? He was big on social media. Mondani did funny stuff on social media. He took the polar plunge, people ate it up and they loved it, right? So I think if you just kind of, step away from the divide and so much the heavy partisanship of certain things is maybe when we'll start to see things turn the other direction. As for, the big media and everything, that's another long game to play. You know what I mean? Some people, they still tune in to Stephen Colbert. You know what I mean? So in that regard, that's another long game to fight too. But, that goes down to the institutions and who holds the language pretty much, you know what I mean? Which is still, unfortunately, the left holds pretty much the big narratives and the language of this country at this point. But I think if we do a mix of what we were all talking about, kind of the main message is, just kind of have unity, be a human being, you know what I mean? Maybe not so much of a talking head or figure piece, just kind of talk how we're talking here, we're having a conversation, right? So I think once we practice that and sort of fine tune that a little bit, maybe then hopefully we'll see some more informed people, more informed decisions. And who knows? Who knows what the future could bring, right? But I'm in it to win it. And that's, yeah, absolutely.
Well, and that's why the Jersey Shore podcast is that important.
Yes.
Listeners out there, that's why the America's Pulse Network is so important, everybody. So like and subscribe, and we're going to take a break right now and probably go to one of our White House press correspondent ad there, and she can ask some questions on your behalf. So you guys can join the chat box, whatever, and ask some questions. But that's why we need to grow this network, because we're sure about everything. We don't lie about anything, and that is my main thing. Anybody that joins this network show, when you join, no lies, just truth. That's our motto: truth, facts, faith, family, all that stuff. So, but let's take a break.
Welcome to America's Pulse Network. This is APN's very own White House correspondent, Alexandra Levine.
This is so amazing and miraculous. We've never had a president in the history of our nation doing this. And we hope to God that he continues doing this forever and ever. Thank you. God bless you, everybody. And God bless President Trump.
And God bless you.
Hello, everyone. This is Alexandra Levine with the America's Pulse Network. I am the White House correspondent right here in the heart of D.C. as President Trump is celebrating 250 years of America and the military.
Subscribe and follow America's Pulse Network on the above social medias.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Hammer segment number 3. And this one is whether or not you guys can, tell me what you think about it with the whole Epstein files. I'm so tired of talking about the Epstein files. I really am. It's over. It happened. It's sad. It's horrible. But it's becoming too politicized. But I want to ask the question, do you guys think what I'm thinking, that Trump had like a 4D chess move here to where he campaigned slightly? I mean, it wasn't his main issue. Like, it was the border, it was everything, economy. But he did say he wanted to release Epstein files. And then once they said they were going to release them, Pam Bondi came out and said, "Oh, I got it on my desk." And then, do you think that was on purpose when they didn't release everything that people wanted, and he baited the Democrats into forcing the hand of to say, "Oh, we want to release." I think he had intentions of releasing them, of course. But I'm wondering if it was like a really big chess move because he knew who was on it. Because I'll just go with this real quick, and then I'll let you go, Jason, on this. They had it. Biden had it for 4 years. If Trump was on it, don't you think they would have used everything they had in there to bury him? So I'm just thinking he used it as a kind of a chess move and saying, okay, well, didn't release everything, and make them come out and say, call for it, release it. And then you look at what's his name, Summers, already, he's resigning. Yeah, I mean, and you see the other Democrats that are already texting, I forget her name offhand.
Imagine if that was a Republican in the middle of a hearing texting Jeffrey Epstein.
Exactly. So what do you think? You think it was a move?
I kind of hope it was, because if it wasn't, there was definitely some fumbles in the beginning, because if that was such a big campaign promise, then one day he's saying, "Oh, well, why are we still talking about this? That guy, it's over. So there was a couple of fumbles when they had they gave the files to the social media influencers, and that really wasn't anything. So, I mean, there was some things that the messaging looked kind of bad on him. Now, at the same time, he is the ultimate troll. So it is possible he's playing this long game with them to kind of screw with them. Because to your point, yes, they would have used it in the last election. They would have used it when he ran against Hillary. Okay. Yeah. So to go this many years without doing, plus Trump was the person responsible for Epstein getting arrested the first time. Jeffrey Epstein hated Donald Trump. He would have came out on his own when he was arrested. Hey, listen, I got the goods on him. Let me cut a deal with you guys. Democrats would have cut a deal with him like that.
Yeah.
Sure. Was it a 4D? Maybe, because obviously he does know who's on there. And maybe the Democrats figured, okay, we can jab a little bit. We use this as a campaign issue. He'll never release it. He wanted to goat them into demanding its release. So this way, when everything comes out, basically it's them checkmating themselves.
Yeah.
Right? And look, there's probably Republicans on there too, I'm sure. But if you look at his percentage of donations to political people, it's like 89%, I think was the number, to Democrats.
Yeah.
Right. They walked right into it. I do believe that, because this is him. That's his personality. And honestly, again, even if like some of us were looking at it as those flubs in the beginning or bad messaging, he was probably enjoying that process, knowing what he was doing to set them up later on. Right.
Yeah.
He didn't mind the bad press. He didn't mind people making comments that they were making. And he's gotten them to call for their own demise, which is fascinating. So this entire time since Trump was elected, I thought that he was going to be the one to wreck the Democrat Party, but they've been pretty much committing political suicide every step of the way themselves. And it's not even TDS at this point. It is moved into something else. It's incredible to watch.
It really is. It really is. And Joe, I mean, when you see everything they came at Trump for in his first term, then he lost the election in 2020. Guy had 4 years he was, he has an ego and he knows how to plan shit. And listen, I don't love everything Trump does. I just try to watch and see how he moves. And I'm thinking in my mind, he was waiting. He wanted revenge. He was trying to figure out what he could do, the Russia hoax, everything else. And then when he runs again, they try to bankrupt him. They try to put him in jail. They try to kill him. I mean, all that stuff. So I just see it as he's like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and I want to bait them into calling for their own demise. They're already doing it anyway. But I think this might be the nail in the coffin. I can really see him planning this, in this way. I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I've heard the theory before. It's definitely interesting. Definitely interesting, because our president, he does have that sort of ability to him, right? I remember hearing stories, about him from other business people and other high-profile celebrities, where he does sort of have that sort of talent to him. You know what I mean? So it's sort of like, oh, look over here when there's something else going on the other direction, right? He always had that deal-making sort of trolling personality, right? My answer is, I don't know. I think it's a lot of speculation. Certainly interesting. Certainly, I would hope so. It would be definitely interesting. It'd be interesting to indulge in for sure. And hopefully, when it comes out, if it comes out, there's very few redactions to it, if any at all. The only thing that should be redacted are the victims' names, of course. And hopefully we see justice get served once and for all. And definitely interesting to imagine for sure, because he has done that before. There are times when it was a little bit more obvious and out there what exactly he was trying to do. A 4D chess move, if you will, right? Like you said. So, definitely interesting. I guess maybe time will tell for sure, right? We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, he's trolling with Trump 2028, and even though he knows he's not going to run. But
he didn't say which Trump, though.
What's that?
You didn't say which Trump.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, you're right. But that's trolling. And he's doing it. He's just, I don't know. I'm curious to see what happens. And like I said, I don't agree with everything Trump does, but I kind of find him funny, and I like his tactics of what he does. But I agree with the majority of what he does, of course. But that's why I voted for him. But it's just, I don't know. I'm curious. I want to see how this one turns out. I really do. But we're coming up to the end. We got to do our quick fourth segment, which will be the Patriot and Loser of the Week award. So let's just take a quick break and we'll go into that.
America's Pulse Network. The mainstream media is bought and paid for. The truth is twisted to fit their agenda. But America is waking up, because podcasts are the future for trusted media. Welcome to the America's Pulse Network. It is a network built by patriots that upholds the Constitution. The America's Pulse Network stands for God, truth, and the America First movement. There is no corporate propaganda, no government spin, just real news, real talk, and real voices fighting for faith, freedom, and the future of this great nation with common sense. Here are some of America's Pulse Network podcasts. Alexandra Levine Live, hosted by Alexandra Levine. Jersey Shore Podcast, hosted by Damon Galdo. The Conservative Corner, hosted by Seth Eisenberg. APN's The Pulse, hosted by Alexandra, Damon, and Seth. So tune into America's Pulse Network on the following social media platforms: X/Twitter, Rumble, Truth Social, Facebook, and YouTube. Join the revolution. Because the pulse of America beats for God and country. America's Pulse Network is for faith, family, freedom, and truth.
All right, guys, welcome back to the last Hammer segment here, where we do Patriots and Losers of the Week award. It's a quick one, and then I'll go to you guys and Jason, especially you can tell people where they can find you, your website, and all that stuff. So let's we'll start with the Patriot award.
The Jersey Shore Podcast presents this week's Patriot Award. Joe Sereday and the Young Republicans.
There you go, buddy.
Wow.
You're famous now. Now you're famous.
Well, I appreciate the award. Definitely, for sure. Wow, what an honor. What a surprise. Thank you, really.
Yeah, and I missed in our last segment, we were talking too much. I wanted to play a clip about Jasmine Crockett and how she, you guys probably saw it, and all listeners out there, she said that Jeffrey Epstein donated to like Lee Zeldin and all kinds of people she named. And then she got caught on it. And she said, I didn't say it was that Jeffrey Epstein. I said a Jeffrey. And she didn't say a Jeffrey Epstein. She got caught. It was, she's a moron. And let's just go to Loser of the Week award.
Losers! 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 Ah, shut up!
So yeah, she's gotten that. It might be the third time she's gotten in this podcast, but yeah, she's a fucking moron and she deserves it. Anyway, but yeah, so she got that. But anyway, let's go to Jason. Where can people find you at?
So you can check out the website. It's at Cullen, spelling your last names right here. The number 4, Congress.com. All the social media, same thing, Cullen, number 4, Congress. And I'm an open book. I do all my social media, all my emails myself. I'd love to communicate and talk with everyone. So, I'm an open book. Come out, ask questions, get involved.
Sure, sweet. And Joe, talk about your Young Republican Club or whatever you want to recruit people, put some information out there.
So you can find us on Facebook, Burlington County Young Republicans, or our Instagram, Burlington County YR. We do actually have a big joint event coming up with a bunch of different YR groups and the State College Republicans, the state YRs, on December 12th. I don't think we have the flyer on file here, but it's coming up December 12th, 6 to 10:30. It is in Middlesex County and Monroe Township. It's a very beautiful venue. To find more about that information, go to our social media on Facebook or Instagram. And we look forward to having everybody there. And I look forward to meeting everyone there. So, and if you're a young Republican looking to get involved, and even if you're not in New Jersey, please contact our social media, and I'd be happy to contact you and get you involved with any Turning Point Action group or YR group.
All right. And Joe, you they have a show coming up soon?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. It will be coming up soon. It is in the works.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to get it together. It's in the works. So I just want to let know. So,
yep. Absolutely.
All right, and everyone knows where to find me. You can find me right here on Jersey Shore podcast and America's Pulse Network, and also on all my X pages and everything that you see going across the ticker tape on the bottom. And vote DamonGaldo.com as well. You'll see that website does have to be updated, though. It's from the last time, so I'm working on that right now. So, but let's go into real quick the GoFundMe for Seth. We have that there. That's Jonah Eisenberg. Well, he goes by Seth, but Seth, he's one of our podcasters, Conservative Corner. He's been in and out of the hospital a lot with his wretched foot. I call it all the time. That's why we call him the pirate. But no, he had bad infections in the foot. He almost lost his foot, and he spent a lot of time in the hospital. And the hospital bills are still piling up. So if you haven't have anything, $5, $10, whatever it may be, there's the GoFundMe for Seth Eisenberg, one of our podcasters on the Conservative Corner, on Sunday nights at 7 p.m. But other than that, guys, thank you very much. Thanks for coming on, Joe. Thank you. Thank you for what you're doing as a young Republican. Jason, thank you for what you're doing for stepping up to run for Congress. It's not an easy thing, as well as I do. It's a rough road, but I think if we stick together, get the Republican Party as a whole to come together, I think we can make it in. We have a chance. So
Absolutely.
Thank you for what you're doing, and Joe, thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us on. Appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. I'm signing off. Have a good night.
Have a good night, guys.
Generation fighters take the stand from shore to shore.